first off, welcome to the Harrison Mine in Cadiz, Ohio. This is everything you see in here has been mined. You know, a lot of what we do in the back here is remining, and when I say remining, it is basically somebody had been in here pre-1977, and why 1977 is important is prior to that, they didn't need to reclaim the ground. They could essentially mine it and leave it abandoned. So they left open high walls and didn't necessarily put topsoil and seed and mulch on to the standards that we do nowadays. So by coming back in here, and you'll see some open high walls that had been left, we remine it, so we take a cut off the high wall and we backfill and we reclaim the ground, which not only is good for public safety, but it's more environmentally friendly when it's all said and done.
So to make electricity, you have to be able to create steam that turns the turbines. And one of the best ways to make that steam, and the cheapest and the most reliable, believe it or not, is what you see behind us, and it's coal. It's been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. We've used it, and we've got plenty to go on forward. It's a very politicized type of business, but it's a very necessary business here in Ohio and throughout the Midwest.
So what you're looking at is our number 8 high wall here at Harrison. We've successfully removed all the overburden above the number 8 coal seam, and right now the excavator is loading out the number 8 coal seam to go to the coal yard to be processed and later hauled to its end destination here. This mine produces about 18,000 tons a month. At that current rate, we have about a little over 2 years of reserves left here. We'll move on any given month about 350,000 yards to get that 18,000 tons out.
We all know that coal is the boogeyman, and you look around and you can see why. I mean, it's an ugly process. Nobody likes to see how the sausage is made, but it's a necessary process. We reclaim this land back to 90% of how its original contour looked, and we make it usable again. There's cattle, there's hay, there's other crops that are grown. So the whole process of coal mining, it ain't pretty, but it's necessary to have the lights turn on a reliable and relatively affordable way.
What you see here is we came in, we mined it, we left the open wall, and the first stage of reclamation is backfilling. So we'll go up there and we'll push all that dirt down to backfill the high wall. The next stage, and you can kind of see it right in front of where the straw is, we'll go ahead and we'll grade it, and we'll put growing medium down to plant the grass seed. And then you can see where the straw is, that's recently been seeded and mulched, and then you can kind of see the new growth up there. When it's all said and done, it'll look like the east side of this pit here. It'll be sloped into the water and revegetated appropriately, and then this will be left as a last pit impoundment for future use by cattle for the landowner.
We are required by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to put 12 inches of topsoil back on top of it. You'll see crops over the next few years start to grow here that never would have grown before, and it'll become a viable, useful land for the original landowners that they didn't have before we came in and mined it. In a lot of ways, we're a giant tilling process, and we create, make an environment where the land can be more useful. Coal mining is very capital intensive, it's very labor intensive, it's very fuel intensive. With the way that our American society right now, with ESG, with the environmental and social governance, a lot of banks, frankly, won't lend money to operations like coal, no matter how responsibly we might mine it. And we mine it incredibly responsibly. So it makes it very difficult to be able to get the capital to move forward. there are only a handful of legitimate, operators out there in the coal industry right now. And so that makes you and me, when we pay our electric bills, those are going up because, some basic supply and demand issues. There are so few of us left because of how difficult it is both to mine, but as well as to get capital. And fuel right now is actually costing us more than labor. We all know what's going on at the pump for ourselves. An operation like ours will burn upwards to 600, 700,000 gallons of diesel a month. And, a lot of this equipment operates 20 gallons an hour. And so you add all that up with where fuel is, and yes, we try to hedge our fuel, but it still is an incredibly expensive part of our operation. Hey, we all want to have, a world where, we're not creating byproducts that are negative for the environment. But the fact of the matter is, right now in today's world, and we all want our computers and our phones and everything to work, we need electricity, and we need reliable electricity. It's hard to talk about coal without getting political, but if you look at some of the other states, our brothers and sisters out on the West Coast, they've had to deal with some brownouts and other problems throughout because of how difficult electricity is. We've been fortunate right now in Ohio, other than maybe some weather-related incidences, we've not had to face brownouts or blackouts. But it is getting more and more difficult as more and more power plants close down, to be able to know that we can always count on reliable energy.